Powerfully strong stuff. Where are we in this thing?
We are Kuf Vav.
Kufa.
Yeah, but we're gonna sing a little bit before. ורסתיך לי לעולם, ורסתיך לי בצדק ובמשפט ובחסד וברחמים, ורסתיך לי ורסתיך לי בצדק ובמשפט ובחסד וברחמים, ורסתיך לי ורסתיך לי באמונה וידעת את השם. Words we just gave the bracha to the soon to be bar mitzvah boy. The adat et Hashem. ורסתיך לי לעולם, ורסתיך לי בצדק ובמשפט ובחסד וברחמים, ורסתיך לי לעולם, ורסתיך לי בצדק ובמשפט ובחסד וברחמים, ורסתיך לי באמונה וידעת את השם. ורסתיך לי באמונה וידעת את השם. This is an old niggun of mine. I recorded it a few years ago, and I really didn't like how it came out, so we never put it out. Actually, it's a whole album. We recorded a whole album, and it wasn't it. A whole album, and it wasn't it. And the whole album is it's like 2 years old. It's not. It's nignaz. It's just put away. So, but it's some good nigunim. I hope I figure out a way to rearrange it, reproduce it. But wow, that was a lesson. Oh my God. So I found the file. I like stashed it away. I don't want to look at it anymore. I stashed. It was filmed. It was also like a live band. It was crazy. We did a whole day live recording, 10 tracks, and released one of them. And then it was like, no. No cigar. This is not it. But the nigunim are really good. So listen to this niggun. This niggun's called Nachlaot because I wrote it as I was walking down to Rav Shlomo Katz's house to give a shir one day, and this niggun came down. We've sung it here. Very simple niggun. Dum dum da da la da 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 da. Da da I da da la da la 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 da da la la I da da la da bam 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 da da la bam 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 b'vrasha tzlacha rabba to all the runners, all our chevra that are marathoning this morning. Have a lot of atzlacha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol nהיה b'dvarim. Also, I have no idea who took care of breakfast, but mamash thank you. Mishpachat Farron. Yeshar koach. Thank you so much. The month of Adar, the whole sponsorship for the month of Adar by the Aaron family, the Avram family, the Brook family, the Eisen family, 2 families that also anonymously donated, sponsored for the Refuah Shlema of Kol Cholei Yisrael. And this other one is crazy. There was an anonymous sponsorship for the whole month in honor of a miracle that saved the life of a member of Shirat David. Pretty far out. Weekly sponsorship for this week is by my parents in honor of their granddaughter's bat mitzvah, and in memory of my grandmother's yortzei, Chaya Rocha bat Tzvi Hirsch. My grandmother's yortzei was earlier this week. And Diana and Simon Rosenfeld in memory of Shlomo ben Aryeh, Diana's father, whose yortzei was also earlier this week. Tehen Nishmasam Tzrura B'Tzrura Chaim. Amen. Okay, Chaver, let's open up. Let's see. We're going to do a little bit today. To Andaf Kuf Vav. We're going to be continuing the concept of what we sound like on Shabbos. And if when we come out of Shabbos, we could say our Shabbos was Shabbos. That's what we were learning last week. The ability to come out of Shabbos. And we're not saying, wow, I was holy every second. And we're not saying, I did every single thing the book says. And it's coming out of Shabbos and saying my Shabbos was, I had Shabbos. It was really Shabbos. To be able to say that. So much of being able to say my Shabbos was Shabbos has to do with my mouth. It has to do with my dibur. It has to do with my speech. And I was checking in with some of the chevra after last week's learning. Not enough. Should have checked in a bit more. I was checking in with some of the chevra, trying to see if we caught ourselves. Where were we with our mouth? Now, obviously, we're not talking about while we're in shul. While we're in shul is not an example. Although the davening of Shabbos should be different than the davening of the week, absolutely. But we're speaking about what it's like when we're not in shul, what it's like at the table, what it's like when we're shmusing, what it's like at a kiddush. What's the talk like? What's the speech like? It seems to me from the feedback I got is that it's actually, it's one of the greatest game changers when you're conscious of your words on Shabbos. When there's mamish awareness of your speech on Shabbos, that is a key game changer in order for a person to come out of Shabbos and say, it was Shabbos. Even more than how good davening was. Mamish. Even more than how fiery davening was. Where was my mouth during Shabbos? And we spoke about this last week, and we're going to continue it this week. So look at the top of the right column on page Kuf Vav, where it says, Yesh lanu lihitbonen. You see that? And it's like the second paragraph. So the tzaddik, Rabbi Yaakov Meir Shechter, says, take a look at something so deep, so interesting. Yesh lanu lihitbonen. Shechelek shvi'it mechayenu, harehu yom haShabbos kodesh. A seventh of our life is Shabbos. It could be, and it will be, and it will be. V'chen mikol shiva shanim, yesh shana shel Shabbos kodesh. Like also with he's not just talking about Shemitah here, you understand. He's saying in chunks of life, not just a seventh of your life is Shabbos. If you divided your years into 6 years and then a seventh year, so you'd have 6 years of I don't even want to imagine what 6 years without Shabbos, but then you got a whole year of Shabbos in the count of your life. If that's the case, what do we have to look into? Tzarich ha'adam lizaher b'Shabbos kodesh shelo yifgom et diburo. Do not blemish your speech on Shabbos. V'ledaber rak diburei Torah utfila v'amirat teilim v'machshavot kedoshot. And to only speak words of Torah, davening, saying Tehillim, pure thoughts. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to, when you go to someone's house for a meal, you're supposed to be silent, right? You see sometimes, you could see who read what at what point of their tshuva. When you invite them for a meal and they come to that meal and they're like, they're so nervous about every single question that they're asked or the way they chew. That's not what we're talking about. You could have 2 hours of conversations at the Shabbos table, and it can be Torah. Not that you're quoting Rambams and you're comparing, Mishnayos, but it could be Torah. The conversation could be Torah. Literally, it could be Torah. There is a tikkun niflan. This is a tremendous tikkun. Now, he does something beautiful here. This is based on Rabbi Nachman, Likutei Moharan Ben Zayin, כמו שכתב רבנו, שיש תיקון של צום, there is this level of tzom, a fast, שהוא ראשי תיבוס בחטאתי מפניו צריו. David HaMelech says in Tehillim, בחטאתי מפניו צריו. I believe that means, and I will sharpen my swords before my enemies, and I take care of them. That's the Rashi Tevot Tzom, right? Vav Mem Tzadik spells that Tzom. So he says like this: Dehine ksheyesh la'adam oivim v'tzarim. When I got enemies, when I got bad energy in my life, hareza mishum sheyesh lo tzarim lemala. It's because upstairs there's some kind of prosecution on you. They come in the form of an enemy down here in this world, but it's really something's going on upstairs. Vehem mikatrigim. These are prosecutors, right? Al yedei hatzom. We learned this on Tani Sester. Through fasting, mekatet kol tzarav mipanav. You're basically wiping away your enemies. The value of a fast, and it's not the time to go into this, but basically, miut chelbo vedamo, that you yourself are lessening from what you would normally take in order to function. You're saying, Baruch Hashem, it's like a korban. It's like I'm bringing a korban. I'm coming to you like a korban. So a fast plays that function of kiviyachol, wiping out those prosecutions coming from upstairs. Give us a bracha. There'll be no, only sanagorim, only defenders, no prosecutors, please God. But then Rabbi Nachman, so we see a fast, what do you feel after a fast? You feel frum, no?
I feel like you're flying.
At the end of the fast, you feel mashu acher, something else. Now go to that zone of, wow, what you feel after a fast. Now listen to what Rabbi Nachman says. Ubechol zot omer sham Rabbeinu, and nonetheless Rabbi Nachman says there, Shal yedei HaShabbos metaknim yoter masher al yedei tzom. You thought you were flying with the fast. Do you know what you do when your Shabbos is Shabbos? When you could eat, when you could drink, when you could sleep, when you could be beside. He's saying whatever you thought, as high as you reached through a fast, is nothing close to what's the opportunity you get to every single seventh day of the week. The other, not just like the things you refrain from, al yedei tanuk shel Shabbos, by the pleasure of Shabbos, by the pleasure of davening and walking into shul and singing Yedid Nefesh, by the pleasure of saying, those that are able to, and not in a program, to say l'chaim, and it's really about l'chaim. It's really about oneg Shabbos. He says, where that reaches, al yedei she'adam mizdavek b'Shabbos Kodesh. When I cling, I'm a devek, I'm glued to Shabbos. Umitnaheg b'machshavot kedoshot shel ha'emunah kedosha, and I act with holy thoughts, with holy emunah. Harei ze po'el refuas hanefesh u'refuas haguf. This actually activates a healing for the soul and a healing for the body. Someone came this week, we had a meeting with someone, that the child needs a big refuah. Needs refuas hanefesh though, needs the healing of the soul. Refuas hanefesh. And it got me thinking a lot about that tefillah over Shabbos. Now, you know that in our shul, I want to change this, but the truth is, we don't really do it that often. When we do it, I want to change it. There's a few things you pick up in Chabad houses and Chabad shuls that are just brilliant. And it obviously came from the Rebbe. Do you know, we call it Mishaberach Lacholim, right? In Lubavitch, they call it Mishaberach Lamitrapim, which means not a Mishaberach for the sick, a Mishaberach for the healed, for the ones that are getting healed.
Hospital, same thing.
Hospital also, Beit Refuah. It's not Beit Cholim, the house of the sick. They call it Beit Refuah. The Rebbe called it a Beit Refuah. But it really is these little things that when you, mamishly, these little things change. They tweak the whole thing. Sorry? Yeah?
Every single little word, it's not just a word. It's, maybe you saw it changes the molecular structure of things.
Exactly.
Literally.
Exactly. I think it's really what he's saying. So if even when you go to a Mishaberach, we don't do it on Shabbos, right? We say it sometimes? We do? So we should change. Yeah, I'm not. So we're going to change it from this Shabbos. Enough. Enough. No. Listen closely. We're changing from the word Mishaberach lacholim to Mishaberach lamitrapim. Okay? Okay, whoever has their phone on them right now, send me a text that I should remind Yuri afterwards, okay? Okay. He says, when my speech is on, this performs a refuah for the nefesh and refuah for the guf. So just being conscious of small changes with words, with the way I speak, is an unbelievable thing. Now, a few weeks ago we learned about Purim. Now we're learning about Hanukkah today. Not really about Hanukkah, but something from the teaching on Hanukkah. Now this is, I'm just going to give a little bit of a prep for this, and we're not going to go into this, because it's a whole shir on its own. The second teaching in the second volume of Likutei Moharan, the famous teaching called Yemei Chanukah Hem Yemei Hodah. It goes into the depth of the gratitude of Hanukkah, which is a simon of Mashiach, because when Mashiach comes, we're just going to be sitting around saying thank you all the time. How do we know this? Because there's not going to be any more korbanot besides korban toda, the Thanksgiving offering. So that's what Rabbi Nachman says. Hanukkah, which is days of praise, is a little taste of what it's going to be like when Mashiach comes, because that's all we're going to be doing, just saying thank you all the time. Okay. So what happens later in the teaching is then Rabbi Nachman goes, he says, you really want to know how you say thank you? You really, really want to know? It really is, like, if you come and just say thank you, and then your rest of your day, your speech is the same thing, what does it say about your thank you? What does it say about your thank you? So it's a very, very deep teaching. In the second teaching, in the second volume, okay? Tantinyana Bet. Now, I'm referencing this here because he's going to be bringing this up here. And we're not going to go into it right now because it's a very, very long, one of these, like, Gesund Reb Nachman trails where you start somewhere, you don't know where you're going, where he's taking you, but you trust the Rebbe is going to bring you back at the end exactly what he said. But the end, in this situation, would be like 3 weeks of learning Be'ir in this Torah. So we're just going to touch upon it right now, and if it's not that clear, it's nothing wrong with you, at least in this regard. So we'll see what Rabbi Nachman says. B'Torah shel Chanukah, Likutei Moharan Chelek Bet Siman Bet, Medaber Rabbeinu al Arba'a Chelkei Adibur, the 4 chalakim of speech. He goes there and he divides speech to 4 different categories. Shem Shoresh Adibur Biklaluto, which is the root of speech, Bichlal. כמו שהערכנו פעם בזה, שכל אופני הדיבור שיש בעולם, all forms of speech that exist in the world, כולם נכללים בדלת חלקי הדיבור המובא שם בתורה. It's a fascinating teaching where Rabbi Nachman takes a pasuk and he shows us there's 4 different elements of speech that this is how the whole world converses. This is how the whole world speaks. Okay? שכל אופן דיבור שמדבר האדם צריך להיות בו אמת. The bottom line is that every manner of speech that man speaks has to have emet in it, has to have truth in it. This is very, very interesting. What would be the difference when someone asks you how you're doing during the week than how you're doing on Shabbos, based on what he just said right now?
There's no difference. Really.
Especially on Shabbos, I'm saying. On Shabbos, when someone asks you during the week how you're doing, right? And what do you usually say? Huh? Hashem or Akol B'Seder, right? Now, you would love to feel one with that statement, but there's a lot more. I told you all the time how my Rosh Yeshiva used to nail guys all the time when Katz, how you doing? Baruch Hashem. I didn't ask you if you're from. I asked you how you're doing, he would say to me. Right? So on Shabbos, when it's a deep thing. When someone asks you on Shabbos how you doing, say, yeah, of course, Baruch Hashem, but you have to say how you're, like, meaning if you're gonna say, it's got to be mamash emet. Like, it should always be emet.
Baruch Hashem, I'm doing good.
Or Baruch Hashem, I'm doing bad. It's not lo mshaneh. Ken, it's lo mshaneh. Meaning like this, you should always speak emet, of course. But on Shabbos, my dibur can't be like the dibur of chol, meaning my expression of the emet has space to be more expressed and stronger and received more. Okay? That's the dibur of Shabbos. Again, this is a very big Torah, and I'm trying not to get us too tied up in here for a specific reason. כמו שנאמר, כל אלוקים השם דיבר, שבדיבור יהיה מונח האלוקות. So he's saying when you speak, godliness should be in your words. Godliness should be sensed in your words. On Shabbos, when you talk, check yourselves tonight. Check yourselves tonight. is check yourself if you feel like godliness is present in your words. Now, I can't tell you what that sounds like because for each person that's different.
Can you translate that for my candidate to understand? I keep asking, what is that? How do you do that?
I just said that I can't tell you how to do it because it's different for every single person. Godliness is such a personal expression that I can't tell you what it sounds like for anybody. But only you know. Only you know. You will, because it's not Shabbos yet. Tonight you'll know. Yeah. She's being emes, right? You will. These are things that you can't. It's like talking about marriage, all the Indian marriage before you're married. Right? It's the same exact thing. But this thing of elokut, of godliness, like speaking about godliness, only you could really know it. So the dibur.
ברגע שאתה חושב על זה, זה כבר מייצר לך את זה. ברגע שאתה חושב על זה לפני שאתה מדבר,
לכן אנחנו מעלים את הדעת, כל העניין של שבת קודש זה העלאת הדעת. טהרת בקידוש המחשבות, sanctifying and purifying the thoughts, because if he's right, if you're thinking about this, then what will end up coming out will probably be much more of words of emet, where you feel like godliness is in your words. Now, godliness being in your words doesn't mean you're going around and you're telling people what to do or what not to do. I'm not talking about that at all. I'm trying to be clear. I had a friend that he had this, he went through the whole gefilte fish cycle, right? Gefilte fish handshake cycle. And he spent his first from sukkahs going around people's sukkahs and parceling them and measuring them. B'shem ha'elokut, in the name of godliness, right? And that's not my godliness. I don't know what that means, but it's not my godliness, right? We're laughing. We have a lot of people that look at other shuls like that and parcel their shuls. I'm very makpid in our shul. We speak about the beauty of our shul, to never, ever parcel any other shul. Ever, God forbid. Chas v'chalila. It's not elokut. That's anochiyut. That's I. That's me. It's the ego. We got to stay away from these things. So on Shabbos, also, like whatever it is that we're doing, we're not looking outwards. We're deep inwards with words of emet and words of elokut. Okay. There's a lot more to say on this, but I want to move forward. שבדיבור יהיה מונח האלוקות, וזהו האמת, שיהיה מונח האלוקות בדיבור. Next page. Rabbeinu here בא לדבר אודות מעלת הדיבור. Rabbi Nachman spoke a lot about the mila of speech. כמו כן שהוא אור השבס קודש. He said this is the light of Shabbos Kodesh. The light of Shabbos is the speech of Shabbos. שקדושת השבת הוא לשון הקודש. The sanctity of Shabbos is Lashon HaKodesh. That doesn't mean, it's not a Zionist propaganda here. You can only talk in Ivrit on Shabbos, right? Bichlal, by Chassidim, that Lashon HaKodesh is not Hebrew. No, it's when Hebrew is only used in the context of only of Torah and Tefillah, only, right? Kmo she'amru, like Chazal said, and we learned this last week, Shelo yeh diburcha shel Shabbos kediburcha shel Chol. The way you talk on Shabbos should not be like the way you speak on Chol. Now that does not mean, listen, there's a heter. Say whatever you want during the week, but on Shabbos, make sure you don't. It's not what we're talking about. A person always has to be nitzor l'shon chamira. I always have to make sure my mouth is in check. It's just that the way that it's in check on Shabbos is supreme. It's much higher than as much as I have to guard my mouth during the week. Shelo yeh.
And the things you speak.
Of course. Shelo yeh diburcha shel Shabbos kediburcha shel Chol. B'Shabbos tzarich ha'adam ledaber diburei kodesh, ve'al yedei zeh zoche lehakir be'achduto yitbarach. Through making sure that on Shabbos my speech is on, I merit to recognize the oneness of God, he says. שכל הפעולות המשתנות באים מהאחד הפשוט, this is lingo of Rabbi Nachman language, that basically כל הפעולות המשתנות, that means, in a nutshell, all the duality that I see in my life, it's really on Shabbos, through holy speech, I could see that it's all one. The duality of things that constantly confuse me, connecting to oneness, I fight so hard to see it through the bilbul of this world. As we learned, Beloved Mishkan Evne, how do you say world in Hebrew? How do you say hidden in Hebrew? Ha'elem, ne'elam. This world is ne'elam. This world is ne'elam. It's all hidden. What's hidden? That it's all one is hidden. But there is one day a week that I could surpass that confusion of the hiddenness and see how it's all one without tripping on anything. Any substance, just to make sure I'm being clear. Clearly, echad, achdut pashut. Umeir or haShabbat al yemei hachol. When that's my Shabbos, I basically formed a flashlight, not a flashlight, a torch. And then that torch of oneness then shines on my Sunday, actually also lemafreya. It also, like we learned, it also kind of like retroactively goes back to my Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and it's shining my torch for Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So now I have a new week. But this new week, Hine keli shuati eftach velo efchad. I got no fear. Why? I was tuned in to calling out the joke of the duality. I'm plugged into the oneness, the achdut pashut. So I'm not scared. You know why? Yeah, Sunday you're here, Monday you're here. But I have the torch of Shabbos coming in and shining on my Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. How could I say the words in Havdalah, behold, this is my God, my salvation. I will trust him and not be scared? What gives me the strength to not be scared from the new week? If my speech, based on what he's saying over here, if my speech was in the right place, that forms the path towards tasting the achdut pashut, this oneness that gives me the strength to not get confused by the ha'elem of the olam, the hiddenness of the world. You with me, or did I lose everybody? You with me? Umeir ora Shabbat al yemei achol. Then Shabbos comes and shines my Sunday, my Monday, my Tuesday. There's someone came up, one of the shurim we did on a Friday. I said, how you doing? He's like, I'm flying from Shabbos. I'm like, yeah, we're not there yet. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm flying from when we were Friday night in shul. I mean, it was so strong for him that flashlight actually lasted the whole week. Sheyeda tamid, that a person should always know. Shekol ha'peulot ha'mishtanot ba'im me'ha'echad ha'pashut. All the changes that we see all the time, and all the new things it all comes from the simple oneness. Haynu me'Hashem yitbarach be'atzmo, from God Himself. V'zeh she'ya'ir ha'adam or ha'emet be'arba'at chelkei ha'dibur. So for a person to illuminate and shine the light of truth in the 4 different aspects of speech, which again is brought down very, very extensively in that teaching. V'sheha'or b'yemot hachol mekoro me'echad ha'pashut. Any light that I tune into during the week, its root, its source, it comes from the place that's very much available to me on Shabbos, this simple oneness. Harei zeh inyan echad mamash. וזהו האמת, שכל הפעולות המשתנות באים מהאחד הפשוט, ואין שום דבר הנעשה מעצמו. There is no such thing in the world that is a new, completely new bria, a new creation that was created by itself. You know, we see people, we get startled by people and by things. What startles us about them is that when we get startled by them, it's because for a second, we feel like this person didn't come from the same echad pashut that I came from. Nivhal. Startled. Mama, בעלה. למה אני נבהל? כי אני שוכח לרגע שהוא גם כן בא מהאחד הפשוט הזה, שגם אני באתי ממנו. נכון? So Shabbos, I have no fear, because nothing startles me. Because I know that everything's coming from the same source. כי היא מקור הברכה. וכאשר אדם מדבר דיבורים כאלו, when this is the way I'm talking at the Shabbos table, ומרגיש את האור שבו, and how this is how I feel the light, על ידי כן מקושר האדם לאמת. Through this, a person is connected to truth. ועל ידי כן, הוא אדם אחר לגמרי. And that's why sometimes you look at people that you knew during the week, you see them on Shabbos, and it's not the same person. It's a different face. Mamish, they look different. They physically look, it looks like it's a different person.
You told that story about the Rosh Hashiva on Shabbos.
And no one recognized him.
They didn't know it was him.
Baba Rebbe.
Was that
Vorker Rebbe also. Oh, no, that's actually, that was a,
what it is, if I remember
yeah. What was it? Who's still, which Rav, which Rosh Yeshiva was it? Oh,
One of his students said, "Oh, where were you for Shabbos?" He said, "I was in the yeshiva."
Right,
He said,
right.
"What are you talking about?" And then he was there.
right. I forget who it was. V'azai yesh Torah v'yesh hoda'ah. There's Torah, there's gratitude. Lefi sheyesh bo hakarat haboreh. Why is there Torah? Where is there Torah and where is there gratitude? When there's a recognition of Hashem, God Almighty, you're running the whole show. And you are the source of everything that I see. Everything that I experience. Everything I ever did experience, everything I ever will experience. That recognition is words of emet. Those are words of truth. And if you look at Kabbalat Shabbat, what are we basically, who are we farbrengening with in Kabbalah Shabbos? Who's in the Mizmorei Tehilim? Who are we like davening with in Kabbalat Shabbat?
The mountains.
Nature. Neharo simcha uchav. Yachad harim yeraneinu. Right? Lechu. Everyone to Nariel etzvishenu. You're doing this with the whole world. There's the whole world is makir the boreh. Va'idekach ba tikun ha'adam. This is how the tikun for a person comes. Through this, a tikkun happens through all worlds, whatever that means exactly in the context of this year, whatever that means in all the worlds, in all my worlds, in all the four supernal worlds, Atzilus, Bria, Yetzirah, Asiyah, there's a tikkun in all of it. So we're going to stop here. I want to give us a bracha that this learning today should show up in our Shabbos, this Shabbos. Our speech, and it's not about being careful. I shouldn't say that. Just tune into what Shabbos is offering, and you don't have to worry so much about the Sur Meirah. You know, remember the famous Chiddush of the Baal Shem Tov? One of the ways we understand the Chiddush of the Baal Shem Tov is that up until the Baal Shem Tov, whenever anyone wanted to come and awaken Jews, they would scare the daylights out of them with Sur Meirah. You got to refrain from evil. The Baal Shem Tov says, with all the work of refraining from evil, whoever gets to do the Va'asei Tov. Baal Shem Tov says, let's put the emphasis on the Asei Tov, and then the Sur Meirah will mimele, like the Rebbe Ditchev has a word. We say Friday night, Ohavei Hashem sinura, the lovers of God hate evil. So they asked the Rebbe Ditchev, why do you think David HaMelech will give any energy of hatred, putting into hatred? Ohavei, the lovers of God, they have to hate evil? He says, no. The lovers of God, mimela. How do you say mimela? Yeah, automatically hate evil, but focus on the loving of God. Focus on the aseh, to focus on what Shabbos is offering. And then mimela, all these things you're so nervous of, how am I going to do it? How am I going to do it? You'll see, it's not even a test. Yeah.
So what we've talked about this in the past, it's called the shir tavid.
Right.
Guys, people like that from the show, whatever, in the conversation, it's nice, it's total, whatever. And then you have, and I'm really struggling with it, and last Shabbos I really struggled with it. We had guests, so whatever, good friends of ours, love them, but they're not sure to be the style family. And the conversation was like, and I was literally exhausted. I think I fell asleep Saturday night at like 10:30. I was exhausted from it. Literally, it drained me. And I love them, they're my good friends, but like, so I'm struggling with that, and I think we're all like, how do you...
Good, it's
and
good.
you don't want to be like, I'm firmer than you, and like, a kanai. Like, I don't, But like, on the other hand, it's like these conversations, and it's like, I still want to be their friend, but like, there's a little lashon hara, there's a little sports, there's a little that, and I'm guilty of it as well,
Who's the Baal Habayit?
I am, and I try to keep the conversation.
You got it.
But it's like
you lead. You lead with zero judgment. You're steering the wheel.
Yeah.
You're steering the wheel. Now, I would say the question's a little bit. The question can also happen: what should I do when I'm invited? That's a different question.
Be careful.
because
Invitations are
it
accepted.
could backfire tremendously. Because you could say, "Oh, you get invited, I don't want," and then it's like you get that look like, "Oh, the share to be people, they're so like, they're crazy," What I mean? Like you want to like look.
Right. Sure.
I was crazy before I came in.
It's great stuff what you're bringing up. It's true. I believe, though, and I believe very strongly that carrying the light of Shabbos is contagious when it's for real. I really do. In a non what do you call it? Yeah. That's not our Indian. That's not, but that means you have to really be plugged in. It means the avodah is on you, on me, on any of us, 100%. But I will say this, is that, and this has happened before, where Chevra have asked, they said, listen, there is a certain, scene, whatever, and it always goes there. It always goes to, I'm not going to give examples, because I don't want to, it always goes there. Always, no matter what. But I love them, and they love me, but it's just, it's not, it stops being Shabbos for me. I said, time to take off the diapers. At a certain point, you have to choose what you want your Shabbos, at a certain point, not God forbid because you're making a statement to anybody, but at a certain point, you got to live with your truth. You got to live with your truth. You have to. But in terms of Baal Habayit, you steer the wheel. Trust your Shabbos. Trust the light of your Shabbos, that whatever will be can only be good. But thank you for bringing that up, because that's an important Indian. It really is. All right, good Shabbos, everyone. And please, this Shabbos, whoever's here, join us for Kiddush this Shabbos in honor of our beautiful, beautiful Ora Katz's bat mitzvah. Okay? Yeah.